that recording now. And I'm going to also go over the reporting and how to interact, how to extend this event beyond just the 3-hour event that you have coming up. So I'm going to jump right in and share my screen. Now, please hold questions till the end. We do have quite a few people on here. If you want to put questions in the chat to everyone, you can do that as well, and I'll address the questions at the end of the training. So once again, thanks everybody, and just should be seeing my screen now. So the first thing I like to do is I want to show you as employers what it looks like to a candidate, what a booth looks like. So this is what a booth looks like to a candidate when they enter your virtual hiring booth. And in here, they see your company logo. They can read your organization bio. They can view job vacancies. They can view additional details about the job, and they can even submit their resume right here within the system. Now, I'm going to show you as employers what that looks like on your end. I just think it's a good idea to start off by showing you what they see and why some of the things that I'm going to talk about are important. Over here, these three blue links are customizable by you to share additional information with the candidates. I always tell recruiters, think about what 3 things do you want every candidate to know before stepping into an interview, or better yet, if you're with your friends, other coworkers in your industry, what 3 things do you tell everybody about your company, why you enjoy working there? So this gives you an opportunity to not only sell, you're obviously here to look for candidates, but it gives you a great opportunity to sell your company to these candidates and why would they want to work for you. They also have access to social media links as well. And I'm going to show you how that all gets set up on the back end in just a second. So that's the candidate view. Now, each of you should have received a registration link from either your NC Works or your SC Works contacts to register for the event. Some of you may have already done this registration process, but I usually like to start here. You come in, you go to that link, you click register, and you put in your email address, company name, phone number, first and last name, and a password. And click create account. Now, when you click create account, I want to make sure everybody stops here and looks. So when the host set up the event, they decided to set up what we call sub-events or rooms for each employer to appear to the candidates. What this does is it helps the candidates find either the jobs or the companies they're most interested in. So this is where you determine where you appear to candidates during the event. If you do not select anything here, your booth will not appear in the event. You will have a booth, but the candidates won't be able to find it. So you need to make sure you select at least one of these sub-events. Now, the very first one is meet the host. Employers, please do not click on this. This is reserved for the SC Works and NC Works booths to be in that one. They have one of the rooms is for all employers. So each employer should automatically check all employers. So now when a candidate goes into the all employer sub-event or room, they see your company along with every other company. And then the next ones are really based on your industry. Now, I want you to think ahead when you're doing this, what industries are you going to be hiring for in this event? I understand that a healthcare company, a hospital could also be hiring an IT administration, maybe even logistics as well. So think about the jobs that you might be hiring for. So that way, when the candidate goes into the construction sub-event, they see your company, even if you don't typically hire construction candidates, but maybe you do have a construction position, think about that ahead of time. And this is where you appear to the candidates. So in this case, I'm going to select all employers and healthcare, and I'm going to click register, which now takes me into my employer dashboard. Now for this next step, this is what your employer dashboard obviously is going to look like before it's set up. I'm going to switch over in just a second to one that's been created. It makes it a little bit easier to visualize, but I do like to start with the first thing that you see on the page on the top left is frequently asked questions and training. We provide another training video, and I believe they also, might have been also been sent to you with the registration link. This is an 11-minute video going over much of the same things I'm talking about now in there. These training videos are also broken down into 3 sections or 4 sections, so that way you can, if you have someone who didn't get to see this training, doesn't want to sit through a 30-minute training or watch all 11 minutes, a recruiter, which I'll get into in just a minute, doesn't necessarily need to see how to set up the company or register. They just need to know how to handle the day of the events and the reports and resumes. So, but I do like to go there. We do have some other best practices, things that we've gotten from other employers, and doing these trainings throughout our time hosting virtual events. So from there, I'm going to log out. I'm going to log back in as my employer, and continue showing the setup process. So now I've gone into what does a completed profile look like? And this is that same booth that we looked at just a second ago. So the next thing you see is your profile. And this is where you create everything forward facing for the candidate, other than job vacancies, which will be just a second. But this is how you create that booth. You come in here, this information, the first 4 things were all gathered when you entered the registration. So those will already be completed. You click on edit and put in your website URL. If you need to update your username, your email address, or your password, you can do that here. Your organization overview is here. If you remember where we clicked on that as a candidate, typically we see most employers, this is an HTML editor box. Most employers do copy and paste directly from a website. You can do that. You do also have the option of adding additional links in here, images, and so on in there. So typically, as I mentioned, copy and pasted from a website, very easy for you to be able to do. But remember, this is your opportunity to share as much information with the candidates as possible. The next is those custom links, as easy as titling them and putting in the link. Try to keep these under 16 characters. That is what fits on that blue icon the best. You can do a couple extra, but it will be off-centered a little bit, but 16 or less characters. And then you can link to really anything you want to link to. We've seen everything from videos, meet the recruiter, maybe in a video about your company. If you're a manufacturing company, maybe a tour of your facility to give people an idea of what it really looks like in your facility. Anything that you want to share with them that you think is going to help candidates make a decision about whether or not they want to work for your company. And then the last thing is the social media links, any that you want to include. Now, all of these, the custom links and the social media links, are completely optional. If you don't fill them out, there won't be those blue links of the social media. With that being said, your booth, think about how it presents to a candidate who has looked at 20 other employers that had fully completed booths, to come into one without any of the information. So try to fill out as much as possible and share as much information. It does make the booth look a little bit better. And the candidates also kind of see that, there was at least some effort put into it. Always make sure you click save if you've made any changes, and you've now created your booth. You can preview what that booth looks like here, seeing what that booth's going to look like the day of for the candidate, and you can even test the links to make sure everything works. So close that window out and come back, and you'll notice the next thing is recruiters. Now, each booth can have multiple recruiters assigned to the booth. I do recommend, typically it's always a question that comes up, how many recruiters should we have? I say for most events, and this event, should have a good number of candidates with the geographic area that it's covering. You're going to want to have at least 2 recruiters assigned to the booth, the primary and then an additional recruiter. It might also be a good idea to have an additional, if you have them available, 1 or 2 on standby in case you see that you want some help. Maybe you want to do a video chat, which I'll go into in a minute. So that way you can make sure you're touching as many people as possible and responding to questions efficiently during the event, as much as possible, and using this time to connect with as many candidates out there. So to add a recruiter, you just click add recruiter. So the primary would come in, click add recruiter, put in a first name. Last name is actually optional, that never displays to the candidate. Email address and password. Now, you as the primary sends the email to that recruiter that you just created, and give them that registration, that same registration link that you used to register to get into your dashboard to begin with. And they click the login button and log in using this email address and password. And now they're signed in as their recruiter. So once they've signed in as their recruiter, and the primaries as well, the first person is always the primary recruiter in the booth. You can click on the edit button to upload a photo of yourself, which displays to the candidates during the chat, during the event, as well as create your predefined messages. So predefined messages, you can add an unlimited number of predefined messages, and you just click add, and you can keep adding those to it and clicking save recruiter. These allow you to quickly respond to commonly asked questions during an event. Think of an in-person event. What questions do you get asked over and over and over again? This means you don't have to sit here and type out the response over and over and over again. I always say, the very first one that I would create is an introduction. Hi, my name is, thanks for visiting our booth. Think about what you normally would respond to a candidate, things that maybe it's specific to jobs that you have listed. What are questions that people are going to ask, or what questions do you want to ask candidates? You can also share links through this as well by putting in the link, and now the candidate right within their chat box can click to open that link in another page. So if you want to share documents or other websites or any other information, you can do that in this predefined message. So each recruiter can go in and create their own, as I mentioned, and you're done with the recruiters. Now, job vacancies. The job vacancies, once again, very easy. Add a job. You're going to put a job title, job city. I'm going to skip down. You put in the job description. This is another HTML editor box. Most employers copy and paste right from their website, or copy and paste right from the NC Works or SC Works job boards, how you have your jobs listed with them, to put in that information. You do have the ability to put links and other things here in as well. This targeted events, this is where you determine where the job is visible. Remember, I mentioned that everyone's going to select the all employers, and then you're going to select what industries you're taking part in. So if you are hiring in healthcare and IT, you would want to select, if this was an IT job, you would want to make sure that showed up in the IT section, and make sure go ahead and select that all employers. So that way, when they go in there, they see every job that's listed. But that person who comes in from IT doesn't see all your healthcare jobs. Some employers think that, and it is easier, it does default to automatically select everything to make sure your jobs are visible. And some employers think that it's better, I'm just going to make my jobs visible everywhere. If you have one IT job at the bottom of 10 healthcare jobs, you won't get an application for it, because the candidates may or may not search through those jobs. So this really allows you to help pinpoint where the jobs are visible to the candidates based on where your booth appears in the event. So always make sure you click submit, or if you're editing, click save. And that is, you have created your booth. It takes most employers about 10 minutes to create the full content of their booth, add recruiters, job vacancies. We do get the question come up frequently about job vacancies. How many should you list? We had an employer, I have 1,000 jobs. Should I list all of them? No. How many, just like an in-person event, think about what are your mission critical, what are the critical hiring needs that you have today, that you need to fill. I'm going to show you in the reporting, you're going to be able to connect with all these candidates after the event as well. So maybe they can see jobs that you had available that you didn't list. But, as a good rule, make sure you list some jobs. You know, if you have a lot of job, list at least 5, maybe 10, a good selection of the type of careers you hire in. And they may ask you in the chat, you know, do you have any other jobs? And that's when you can maybe direct them back to the NC or SC Works, or to your personal website for other career opportunities. So on the day of the event, you click on My Events. Now, I want you to notice that my Gone Fishing booth is actually associated with 2 different events. If you find yourself participating in another Premier Virtual event, you don't have to recreate your booth. Your login information, you would actually just log in using the same login and email and password, which would then register you for the new event with the link that they sent you. And now your booth will be carried over into that event, and you can go in. All you have to do is update your recruiters, update your jobs, and make sure they're showing properly to the new event, and you're ready to go. So on the day of your event, you will enter the booth for the event that you're anticipating attending. So this is your virtual hiring room. I want you to notice you see a preview of what your booth looks like to the candidates right here in the top left. You see live real-time applications as that candidate is clicking submit resume. You'll notice my accountant resume is there, and you can click here to view individual resumes. Close that out and takes you right back to the event. And here you see visitors, and all visitors, as they come into your booth, new visitors go to the top. So it could be that you have 10 people, 15 people coming into your booth at one time. And new visitors always go to the top. Now from here, you can also view their resume of visitors. You can also click on them and initiate a chat with them. Remember, I mentioned a predefined message with an introduction. You know, as a good rule of thumb, depending on how busy the event is, if 50 people are coming into your booth at one time, I don't suggest you try to greet every person that comes in. But if it's you're getting that 2 or 3 people, you know, every few minutes coming in, take that opportunity to open up and initiate that chat with the candidates. Sometimes it makes them more likely to respond. It's probably their first time on a virtual event as well. So I clicked on the candidate, and I quickly took my predefined messages here and went to my introduction and clicked it and sent it to the candidate. So I've now initiated a chat with that candidate. So as the candidate responds to me, if I'm say in another chat and that candidate sends me a message back, I get an audio alert, it flashes, and the chat immediately goes to the top. And a couple things I want you to notice here: the time that it was sent, and also this person here, Jason Recruiter. I have my name titled Jason Recruiter, but that is always the recruiter that last spoke to that candidate. So if myself, and you'll see I have Drew is also a recruiter in this booth, if Jose were to send a message through the system and be flashing at the top, I would see that Drew had already been speaking with Jose. So I would, depending on what I worked out as with the other recruiting teams, I suggest that you wait for Drew to respond. I would wait for Drew to respond, but after a couple minutes, if that was still flashing, maybe Drew had a phone call come in, maybe someone walked into his office, if something happened, he got pulled away, I can then click on it and continue the conversation and take over where Drew left off. So all of the chat that goes on in our system is one-on-one between the candidate and the employer booth. Other candidates don't see that information. The only people that can see the chats that go back and forth is the candidate and any recruiter in the booth. Recruiters do have the ability to switch to right here to show only my chats. It is a feature within our system. I don't recommend doing it for most events. If you switch over to show only my chats and a new candidate comes in the room and sends a message, you will not see that incoming message and won't get alerted to that incoming message. You're only going to see messages that people you've already communicated with during the event. And with that also, when you switch over to only my chats, it will show anybody you have ever chatted with. So if Drew and I both had spoken with Jose during the event, I would still see Jose's chats as they come in, even though he's now talking to Drew. So the last thing on the chat is video chat. We have Premier Virtual does have an integrated video chat within our platform. I will tell you as recruiters, have something, you all know what the firewall restrictions or how restricted you are within your organization on your VPNs and your firewalls. If you intend on doing video chat during the event, please have an outside platform ready to go, whether it be a Zoom meeting, a WebEx, GoToMeeting, a FaceTime, some other platform. If that's your intention to do video chat, have something else prepared ahead of time. And I would even recommend, if this is your first time on Premier Virtual using our video chat, put that link as one of your predefined messages, just in case when you initiate that first video chat, if your firewall or VPN blocks that video chat from initiating, I want you to make sure that you have something to fall back on to be able to continue with that video chat. But within our system, when you want, if you and a candidate are having a good conversation and you intend on doing face-to-face interviews or want to do a face-to-face chat with a candidate, the blue camera, you can click on that, and that will prompt a message to the candidate saying that Gone Fishing would like to have a one-on-one meeting with you. Do you accept? Yes. And once they click accept, as you're waiting for them, and once they click accept, they will be taken into the video chat. Now the video chat does appear on the screen. I have to show it here because my camera doesn't like it when I try to do two video chats at the same time, but it will pull it up on the screen like this, right over the top of your event. It does not open in another window. It opens right within the same browser tab. The first time you get it, you are going to be prompted by your computer, depending on what browser you use. The message could look a little bit different, but allowing access to your camera and your microphone. Make sure you allow those. And then that will take you in when the candidate comes in. You will see the candidate in the large picture and yourself in the smaller picture to the right, as shown here. When you're done, there is an X on the top right to close that out, which then terminates that video chat. Now, each recruiter in the booth has access to their own, as long as they're logged in under their recruiter profile. Each recruiter can be having a simultaneous one-on-one chat with a different candidate. So if you have 5 recruiters, each recruiter could be doing a video chat. With the video chat, always keep in mind that one person should be monitoring the chat that's taking place, the text-based chat at all times. You don't want both recruiters in a video chat and missing a question from a candidate might be the perfect candidate for you. So always have somebody monitoring that as well. So that's really the extent of the training on the day of. I will say I did mention the browsers. Chrome is the recommended browser. You'll notice that I'm using Safari, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, all work exceptionally well. The only browser that is not compatible, and I say not compatible, it may work for some and may not work for others, is Internet Explorer, just because of their lack of support over the last couple of years as they're phasing it out. Depending on your operating system and what version of Internet Explorer may give you some problems. So Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Chrome, Safari all do very well and have no problems on our platform. So that's the extent of the day of the event. And I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and now I'm going to show you the reporting. So what do you do with all of this information you got, and what else is available to you? The last tab is the Job Seeker tab. And when you click on the Job Seeker tab, you're going to see all of the resumes, all of the people that submitted a resume during the event. You're going to see their contact information, what job they submitted, and then you can download individual resumes, and you can even view and add notes about candidates throughout the events. A lot of employers do open this in a separate window during the event and make notes as they go. Some also, and for me, I think it's easier just to write down a person's name and they go back in and add it later. And I'm going to show you when you export why that becomes important. if you want to use that within the system. You'll notice you can also request the export, which this report will come to the primary person email address that set up the booth. The other one is the visitors tab. So now not only are you seeing all of the information for the people who submitted jobs, you're also getting all the information for people who came into your booth and looked and took action. I mentioned that person that maybe comes in, looks at your jobs, doesn't see the job they're interested in. You now know who they all were, who all came in your booth. You have access to download individual resumes and add notes about them as well. Maybe you see a resume as you're scanning through that looks really good, and you want to follow up with that person, put a note in so that way when you export the reports, you know who to reach out to. But this allows you to extend the event beyond the 3 hours of the event, and build that pipeline for future hiring needs. As I mentioned, there may be a job that you didn't list during this event that you could find your perfect candidate just because they stopped by your booth. When you request the export, you are going to get that in email, a zip file, a link to a zip file in your email, and you're going to get two different things, depending on whether you're looking at submitted resumes or visitors. You are going to get a CSV file for either visitors or submitted resumes, as well as a file containing hard copies of all of the resumes. So this CSV file, I like to look at the submitted resume, is going to show you the name, contact information, what job they applied for, and any notes that you put in the system about them. So so this allows you to easily follow up with the people that applied for jobs. And not only that, on the visitor side, as a best practice, send out an email to everyone who visited your booth after the event. Send out that mass email that says, thanks for visiting our booth during the event on this day. Here's a link to our website. Please keep an eye out for future job opportunities. You're able to build that pipeline and prolong this event beyond that 3 hours. So that's the extent of the reporting, and really everything you kind of need to know for the day of the event and how to set up your profile, and like to take this opportunity to open it up for questions. And feel free to chat it or unmute and ask the questions, whichever is easier for you. All right.
Jason, just so I'm clear, the candidate, we're all to be on the entire 3 hours. We're just to be waiting in our booth for people to come in and out as they so choose, correct?
Yes, correct. This is very much a free flow style, like career fair, much like you're in a convention center. Typically, I will tell you that typically the most traffic is in the first hour, and in the last 30 minutes or so is when we see the most traffic. There might be a lull. 3 hours is a perfect time for an event that drives the candidates in there within that time frame. So I'd expect, based on the geographic area and the marketing of the event, when the marketing starts for the candidates to register, I anticipate there's going to be a large number of candidates that will register for this event. So you're going to get people coming in and out of your booth.
Okay. And do you have any idea of the type of candidates, like who all is invited to this, the numbers you're expecting for this event?
That would be a question for NC or SC Works. I know they.
Oh, I can answer that. So this is being advertised through North Carolina and South Carolina. So we're advertising this through all of our geographic locations. So we're expecting a good turnout of a cross variety of different skills and qualifications. But it is being advertised with lots of different partner organizations, as well as those who utilize SC Works and NC Works database systems. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Diana, and maybe you can answer this. Somebody had asked the question, is there a deadline to add your jobs to the profile? From from a Premier Virtual standpoint, you can add and edit jobs in during the event. There's no cutoff. We typically, I think Diana might tell you there's a time where they'd like to see everything completed by a deadline to have things completed, just so they can make sure everything's been done. But if you need to make a change to a job or add a job the morning of, absolutely. If you want to add a job halfway through the event, you can do that as well.
That's a great point. And we're hoping everybody will have their booths ready to go by November 10th. That way, we make sure everybody's booths are set up, everything looks okay. And if you have to make any slight edits after that, that is not that big of a deal. So November 10th, if possible. And if you need any assistance with that, Premier Virtual or myself or someone from NC Works or SC Works, we can help you with this.
Any other questions?
This might be a dumb question, but I'm just going to ask it. Candidates typically apply through our job portal. And so this job fair, they are simply just going to provide their resume. And if we want to consider them further, they would need to go and apply online as a second step. Is that typically what happens?
Yeah,
Okay.
Right, much like an in-person event. You're getting the data here, and that's why you download these reports for the people that submitted their resumes. And that's typically when you send that the day after you send that email to them and say, or you call them, thanks for applying for a job. Here's the next step in the application process. We do need this filled out online, and that's when you then take it forward from there. And then Cynthia, go ahead. Did that answer it?
No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
Yep, great. Somebody else asked, are employers able to add more industry photos to the booth for the candidates to get an idea of the type of industry we're in? I would definitely utilize that. That's the best place to do that, is here in one of these three in the custom links. Is really a good place for you to be able to add, if you have a video about your company, or if you just want to add photos, anything like that. Maybe you do have the ability to add a YouTube page as well, but anything you want to add there, and if I can get to it, apologize. I think I just accidentally closed my booth out by mistake. But they're within that, they're within your profile. Get that back up real quick. They're within your profile. You can add additional ones. Link it to anything that you feel you want to have sharing with the candidates. No, it will not. Somebody asked if the fair will end right at 12. It will not. So it actually doesn't kick people out right at the time. So you can continue your conversations, and there's not really a countdown feature either. So, any other questions? All right. Well, great. Well, thank you very much for joining, and good luck to everybody. And I believe this video will be provided as well. We did one earlier, so one of the two videos will be provided for a training out to everybody. If you need it, reach out to your NC or SC Works contact. And always remember, right there on that main dashboard page, make sure you read that frequently asked questions and take the 11 minutes to watch that video. It might even answer some things that I went over in a different way that helps. So thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your week, and good luck on the event.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.